So welcome to Eliminaion versus Brawlers, Barles+Valas versus Nili and Jordan. This is an elimination match in the group stage of 2 pools, which means that the loser of this set is out of the tournament. Barles+Valas will be having Eruption and Rockslide as their home maps. Other side will have Team Islands and Kawasan for Eliminaion. We will have Portuguese, Italians, global bans, so it looks like we're not gonna have the 2 top water saves for water, as an early Vikings pick crawls in here for Eliminaion for Team Islands, and some people might have PTSD about Eliminaion playing Team Islands in the previous round, where they fell short to ACCM and Say My Name 3-2, and we might see some other crazy Team Islands games in here, but before that, let's take a look at the introduction of these teams.
Teaming up as the third Eliminaion team in the tournament, Jordan and Nili will play together once more after reaching the top 16 of the 2020 World Cup for Germany. Neither of them played in the first 2 pools, and they had to qualify to the main event, convincingly beating the Chilean pros Noisik and Whitecourt to do so. Longtime players, Nili and Jordan have known each other for years, and now teammates have played many games together. Both have also chosen to dedicate full time to practicing and improving, with Jordan especially reaping up the results with a final run in Hidden Cup 4. They have a proven team dynamic, where Jordan plays cavalry in support of Nili's archers. As part of Eliminaion, they also have 2 other expert teams to practice with. Jordan and Nili are in Group A, where the competition will be harsh for a chance to make the top 8. They, however, are an excellent team who could pull an upset. A brand new team in competitive Age of Empires, Brawlers is the association of Valas and Barles from Finland and Poland respectively. While they've not competed in any tournament together before, they are known as 2 of the best Black Forest players in the world. The Brawlers had to qualify to the main event, which they successfully did after beating Cure All Fallen and Poland for the loss of just 1 game, proving their team synergy and high preparation level. Black Forest experts, Barles and Valas excel in the late game, but are dangerous at any stage. Barles is renowned for his excellent archer micro, while Valas is no stranger to chaotic strategies and is blazing fast with quick balls. Underdogs of Group A, Valas and Barles nevertheless have the skills to take games from any other team, and could be a serious threat to any unprepared opponent.
Shout out to Lil Trouble for her narration during these videos, because that is definitely something that adds a lot of effect. I'm super happy that she was open for a collaboration in this one, as she is a very good narrator, and you could hear her voice in this one. So with that, I think we are good to go with the first game. So Brawlers, Barles+Valas versus Eliminaion. The loser is out. We'll jump into the Arabia game over here. We will welcome Eliminaion, Nili and Jordan. Nili playing red Chinese on the right side, and his teammate, not just simple Jordan, but Admiral Jordan now, after his Hidden Cup success with Admiral Yi. We will have our yellow Bulgarian player for Jordan. Left side, we will have Valas playing as Indians in green, and the Barles will be his teammate with Britons in blue. So we have a fairly decent lineup of civilizations overall. Chinese coming in very useful for Eliminaion. I think that in the 2 pools drafting system, if you're just drafting for a map like Arabia or so, Chinese is by far your best pick, because the ability to be a very efficient cavalry civ and also be a very good archer civ alongside that is a super rare combination. Not a lot of other civs are capable of being a very good cavalry and archer civ as well. So we're gonna have Barles in blue Britons, versus Nili's Chinese in red on the north, versus on the south we'll have our two cavalry players lining up against each other. Indeed, that's a very, very good comment about how much wood we have on Arabia. Bit of a sellout to myself. I recently uploaded a video to my YouTube, a 30 minutes video. Discord läuft bei dir. And Nili is saying Jordan dropped out of the Discord. So this also tells us that Gamer Legion is using Discord and not TeamSpeak, which is, I think, news for me. I thought that they are still using TeamSpeak. In fact, most pro players, as far as I know, they use TeamSpeak, but it looks like we'll have Discord communication for Nili and Jordan. So here's the deal. I actually uploaded a 30 minutes long map review video about the tournament yesterday. But one of the things I highlighted with this Arabia is that this is one of the more vulnerable versions of Arabia. You see that generally the players' bases are not impossible to wall in comparison to, let's say, KOTD or Red Bull Arabia or Hidden Cup Arabia, where you're actually playing a little bit more open. However, I feel like for 2v2s, better vulnerability is essential for Arabia, because while in 1v1 you want to encourage aggressive gameplay by making the maps more open, if you make the Arabia very, very open in 2v2s, what this will result in is games snowballing very easily, because in 2v2, one player might fight himself 1 versus 2 in some instances, and if your base is not defendable enough, then you're gonna be in big trouble in comparison to 1v1, where aggressive gameplay should be motivated. So I think that for 2v2s it makes some sense to have the Arabia script a little bit more vulnerable than it is for 1v1 tournaments. With that being said, we will have the Premium Rush coming in here for Bars. Build that he just loves to do. Something that he has done last year in Visible Cup, and overall, he might be the player that does this the most. So he's gonna go for the militias. Obviously, the Britain sheep bonus helps a little bit getting the early food eco going for that, and he's going to open with a Premium Rush. If you remember how Nili played the previous games of the tournament, then you can think about the fact that Nili struggled quite mightily against the Drushes. So that could be quite troublesome to think about. But with that being said, we will have the Premium Rush coming in here. Nili is actually distracted by the scout of his opponent, and it very much seems like he has no idea on the Drush coming in. This is smart from Bars. He's dragging away Nili's scout, resulting in the fact that Nili is unaware of this Drush coming in. This Drush will hit the back of Nili's base over here, most likely, but it takes quite a lot of time until it gets there, and Nili might have the ability to spot this thanks to this house. Or not. Nili doesn't know. Nili doesn't know, now he realizes this, and it looks like Bars' militias will run straight into Nili's TC, and this will be a very, very underwhelming Drush here from Bars. So I would be massively surprised if this would do that much of a damage. Nili will realize, oh shoot, there is militias coming my way, and he will actually start going for some smaller walls. And he also has the HP advantage over his opponent's scout over here, which means that Nili is going to yoink Bars' scout. Nili's start, he was actually really good, as I'm saying that the militias will run past the walls here, and might be able to harass the wood line a tiny bit, so Nili can't actually go for defense or the walls that he initially anticipated for himself. Other side, we'll have Jordan already with 2 wood lines going up with Bulgarians on 20 pop. 20 pop is the feudal as well for Valas. He's going for the Indian scouts over here, pushed in, I think, all of his deer overall. Both Jordan and the Valas are playing wide open for the time being, so it looks like they will just trade scouts early on. Whereas for Nili, the real question is what Nili is up to. He's just reaching feudal age. This seems like a straight archer's build from him. Whereas for Bars, he is going for what seems to be a Drush FC with Britons. Now, these farms are very, very late for a Drush FC, so he won't really have the opportunity to get a good food eco going for him. Like you see that he's having a lot of villagers on stragglers. This is not necessarily a perfect eco balance, and he didn't push in any of his deer, which hurts even more so. Still, he can walk out and take at least 2 deer, which helps a tiny bit. But at this stage, because he's going for a Drush FC, his teammate could be exposed to a 2 versus 1 if Nili is getting the first couple of archers in, but Nili overchops the wood line, and once again, oh boy, Nili is just so... Like, probably the worst thing that can happen to Nili is like a Drush. He's just having so much trouble defending against these in all of the games that he has played in this tournament so far. Every time you Drush him, disaster seems to happen. There is no overchop here, by the way. So these militias can walk on those vills, and I think that Barles might do that. Indeed, here they come once again. Oh boy. Nice quick pause from Nili, I have to say though. So we have to give him credit for not losing villagers. And now there is going to be some archers coming out, so he's fine. He's totally fine, he didn't lose villagers, but you don't really want to lose those villagers to the Drush, and I feel like the goal of this one was accomplished by Barles. He delayed Nili really badly, and oftentimes you do a Drush, if you do a Drush FC, you do it because you want to delay your opponent. Now, it looks like Jordan will send all his scouts towards Nili, and that's something that Nili talked about in one of his streams during the week, that he feels like he needs to improve his communication with Jordan in 2v2s, so there needs to be an intense communication between the teammates, telling Jordan that, okay, I'm fine, no one is coming my way. Now, it seems like Valas might also jump on Nili, who is not Vod. Jordan is sort of half Vod, or sending a Voyager to gold is an interesting decision, so it looks like Jordan wants to play a greedy game here and go for an early castle age, but that might be Nili who suffers from that, because now the scouts are coming in, and archers like these being picked off is an awful disaster. You should never have archers picked off like that, but it seems like Gamer Legion was unprepared for such an aggression, and it's not the Drush that Nili has trouble with right now, it is the scouts opening. Nice quick was once again, loses one villager, but I think the biggest problem here was that GL didn't actually anticipate the scouts coming in, and there's a hole there. There's a hole, and oh boy, that's a disaster. I mean, we have to consider the fact that Jordan lost the track of those scouts, so they didn't anticipate the scouts coming in towards Nili's base, so this may seem like a mistake from Nili, but I think that this was just as much a mistake from Jordan as well, because when your teammate is playing wide open like that, it's your responsibility to try and track down the opponent's scouts. Jordan went forward, but they lost track of the scouts, and that hurt Nili so badly. Luckily for Nili, he is Chinese. So even though he lost 4 villagers, he is still actually having the same amount of villagers as the green player. That's the positive. That's actually the positive of having Chinese here for him, that at least he didn't fall behind in villager count compared to others. Needless to say is the fact that his eco lead with Chinese is now completely gone, and Barles is on the way to Castle Age. But at least he is not totally dead yet. And here's the Castle Age coming in here from Admiral Yi as well, also known as Jordan. So we did see that he sent villagers to gold quite early. He wants to beat his opponent to the Castle Age, and I can see that being justified because our blue player is going for a Drush FC, so you want early knights to make sure that those crossbows can do that much of a damage. The problem is that we also have Castle Age coming in here for... Wait a second. Oh yeah, Castle Age just kicked in for a blue player, and Castle Age is on the way for Valas as well. Last player to pick up will be Nili. He might need a market because he's floating quite a lot of gold, but he doesn't really have the food for this one. So he should be safe now when it comes to walling, although his right side is still wide open. The biggest problem that they will be facing is that they will be outnumbered quite heavily in terms of Castle Age quality units. So you see that there's 8 crossbows versus 10 archers, and those crossbows will have the extra range as well from Britons. Faster working ranges from Britons also allows you to overrun your opponent much easily, but it looks like Barles is gonna go for an eco-heavy approach. Went for a TC, then cancelled it. So, not sure what's on Bars's mind, because he definitely canceled a TC here. He might decide to go for a University and Ballistics instead, but it looks like he will just stay on... where's the... What happened to that TC? Anyways, we will have the archers from Nili pushing the back of Bars's wood line. This will force Bars to defend with his crossbows. So as bad as this looks like, I think this could be working for Nili, because this may force Bars to defend, and what Nili needs right now is time. Nili needs to make sure he doesn't die to the crossbows until he reaches Castle Age himself. He's lurking to the other wood line of Bars over here. Bars dispatching a couple of crossbows to deal with this aggression. Second TC coming in for both cavalry players for the time being. Nili's defense here seems to be nice, reinforcing the walls with some archer ranges behind, and he's gonna have quite a lot of archers back at home. So the thing is that these archers for Nili are actually delaying quite a bit, because you see that Bars isn't able to do damage. Bars is kind of wandering around with those crossbows, and at the end of the day, his Castle Age advantage didn't actually materialize at all. And that's a big thing. When you want a Rush FC, you want to start getting Voyager kills in early Castle Age, otherwise your eco or numbers won't be that great. And if Nili isn't getting pushed further, he's gonna have a Castle Age with like 20 crossbows. Some of them are lurking all the way around here, so they could push the back of the opponent's base. And he also has a quite decent eco behind this one, as compared to Bars, whose eco isn't necessarily that amazing. Defensive towers up for Nili, drops a house to prevent the camos from running past here. And he's gonna have a lot of archers popping out, but he's still 20 seconds away from Castle Age. This is gonna be the hardest part of the game, I believe, for Nili and Jordan. Jordan is coming in here with his knights, but guess what? Indian camels will eat your knights. But Nili's gonna have a decent amount of crossbows here. He's gonna have 15 versus 12 only, and the knights also do a better job at cleaning up crossbows. And look at the distraction that Nili's gonna cause. Nili will have the crossbows at the back of the opponent's wood line. This is intentional timing. They will try to take this fight over here simultaneously to these crossbows hitting this wood line, so that Bars may not be able to react to that wood line being attacked. Nili loses another Voyager here on his gold, but now takes the engagement. Nili with +1 defense, no defense upgrades just yet for Bars, as fast ballistics will soon come in for our red player as well. They're trying to take this fight, Camo's trying to break out as much as possible, but I feel like you can't escape now, because those knights will jump on top of your crossbows, and that's actually a decent engagement, I would say. Or is it a decent engagement for GL? Because now the camos are eating up the knights. Nili is picking off a couple of Voyagers on the other wood line, but there is so many camos here, and it's just the camo numbers that are just eating the knights. 12 camos against just 7 knights on the field, and even though I'm not a big fan of Indians in a 2v2 setting, I can definitely see them being a legitimate save right here, right now, because what they do is basically make Jordan unable to do anything against those camos. Jordan has to go knights, but he just can't do it because there is camos against him, and like Nili's trying his best to get some more crossbows on the field, but without gold income, that looks really rough. And Nili trying his best to do some counter raids, but at the end of the day, it's already 10 Voyagers lead for Brawlers, and I did mention that this team, Barles+Valas, played a very competitive Arabia game against Viper and Taro. And when you play a competitive Arabia game against Viper and Taro, that is a huge praise to you. Now the camos will go down here, so I'm not sure if this was worth it at the end for Valas, but the advantage is definitely on the side of our cold color team. 3rd TC coming in right now for Valas. Bars will be sticking with 2 for the time being, goes for fast ballistics. I can see a 2 TC play being legitimate here for Bars, just making sure that he can hit an early imp with like 65-70 villagers, and then go up and go for our blast. Now, I think Jordan needs to be a little bit more proactive here. So you could send in your knights towards the base of Valas, and that would force Valas to defend with his own camos. That could be something to consider. Nili right now, however, is only on 5 crossbows versus 24 from Bars. So this is looking really rough for Gamer Legion, especially with crossbows now coming in, intercepting all that cavalry. And one thing to point out is that Nili+Jordan didn't really have a great time on Arabia, and basically any of the games that they have played in the qualifiers or in the previous round, they seem to struggle a little bit on Arabia, and this TC is going to be crucial. Oh no. Oh no. This is a TC that goes up, or this is game over. And I think that this is getting close to game over because I don't see that TC going up by any means. Nili will try to rush it up, but that is not enough crossbows to stop this. And with that, I believe that this game might just be over. Nili down at 35 villagers, and Nili is indeed going to call the GG. So with that, we will have Barles+Valas taking game number 1 over here. A very, very dangerous team, the Black Forest duo. So to say, GG is called by Nili+Jordan, and a quick strike from Barles+Valas. I'd say that they played a very, very good game versus Viper and Taro in Arabia. That was a very competitive game until the end. But now Nili+Jordan unable to win against Barles+Valas. But with that, they will have to edge out victory on their own home maps. We will have fairly promising KD here for Barles+Valas, and honestly, Indians was the thing that decided things, to be honest. The Indians having the camels, if it was a knight versus knight fight, Jordan would have had a much better chance at helping out Nili. But the camels just made sure that there was nothing that Jordan could do to save Nili, and even though Jordan had the best eco in the game, it is the KD. Valas having 29-19, 39-23 for bars, whereas Jordan and Nili both had some underwhelming combat overall. So with that, we have a game number 1 in the hands of Barles+Valas, which means that we are either going to Kavasan or Team Islands. I can already see Memb being very happy about this one. Like, this is probably a time where Memb is like, no, please, no. And do you know where we're going? We're going to Team Islands. Admiral Jordan channeling his inner admiral in here. We will jump into game number 2. Here we go. The crazy Team Islands game between the Vietnamese team, ACCM and Say My Name, and Nili+Jordan. We are going to have Team Islands coming in. Nili will be playing Japanese in red, and on the north we'll have Sicilians. For Jordan in yellow, a civilization that could be very much used for transporting stuff across the sea, versus Valas playing Spanish over here. An interesting civilization for many reasons, because this could be a landing civ for towers, this could be a landing civ for scouts, this could be a fast castle landing civ for maybe even conquistadors, or you can just play water. Like, Spanish is a reasonable water civ overall, if you think about that. Byzantines will be the civ for Bars, who's gonna have to play with fire ship over here. So, indeed, you could ask why Spanish, but the main reason is because even if you think about a landing, you want a landing civ that has some okay water, and believe it or not, Spanish fleet is actually very good. Spanish fleet actually has fully upgraded water. So, galleon, fast fire ship, heavy demo, elite cannon galleon, careening, dry dock, and shipwright. They have everything. So, like, obviously it's not your standard water civ, but in tupos you sometimes have to pick some civilizations that you're not frequently seeing on maps because you have limitations. And also, they have some crazy good cannon galleons, believe it or not. We might see some cannon galleons out with Spanish. And I can't even remember when was the last time I saw Spanish cannon galleons just taking out buildings with those fast-firing cannonballs. So, indeed, it's also a good point that we will have better trade for the Spanish, which could be important because you can definitely set up trade on this map as well. And I feel like the best way to do you know what the best way is to counter Spanish on islands? Or any kind of water map? Historically speaking, it's British. You just wait for the storm and make sure that the Spanish lose their entire fleet. I had to do this. You know that when you have Spanish on water, you have to have some Armada jokes, right? So, let's see if Admiral Jordan can channel the power of the weather, because they might need it against the Spanish Armada. We're going to have front dogs from both of our Gamer Legion players over here, and it looks like we'll have double front dogs as well from Barles and Valas. So, for now, deer push coming in here for Valas. Basically, you push in deer on islands because you have nothing else to do, babe. And also, saving your sheep for later stages of the game can help a little bit because your food eco might be a little bit messy at the beginning of feudal age, so being able to use the deer helps a tiny bit over here. So, front docks for everybody. We might see transport. If it's landing, it probably is Jordan and Valas landing, but with double front docks, it's not guaranteed that we're going to see any kind of landing, because you could make a case for a back dock for landing. By the way, the island shape of Jordan's team is actually very, very interesting. They have a long peninsula over here with what is literally a wood line. So this is truly a wood line over here. This gold mine could be a little bit troublesome, but other than that, if you discount this peninsula, the two islands are very, very similar. So the length of the trade is actually comparable when you trade from this corner to this corner, as opposed to this corner to this corner, or so. So we're gonna have docks up and a fast fuel from Barles over here, going for those fancy Byzantine fire galleys, even though that fast fuel won't mean that much, because Nili's fishing ships are actually very, very sturdy. So, let's see, transports. No transports just yet. Admiral Jordan going for some extra fishing eco. This is, by the way, a beautiful dock for him, right next to a deep fish and right next to a shore fish as well. Obviously, you always place your dock right next to a shore fish, but being adjacent to a deep fish tile is always nice. So, last player to feudal age will be Valas, who is getting transports in, so we're gonna have a landing. Do you think we're going to see Sicilian transport ship micro? Maybe. But here comes the transport. That's the only transport in the game, and probably the least sneaky landing ever. This will be immediately spotted by Jordan, and it looks like what Jordan is doing is making a barracks. He didn't want to land. This is something that we have seen in 2v2 World Cup a lot. One player just anticipating the landing and going for a landing defense. So we will have a barracks coming in here. That's not necessarily the way that you want to do the landings, to be honest. You want to have your barracks back at home for multiple reasons. First of all, you want to start making the stable right when you get here, and a big mistake could be here from Valas, because there's 2 scouts from Nili's team, and they could just jump on those Voyagers, and that would be awful. That would be a disaster for Valas, losing the 4 Voyagers before actually getting the archer ranges or stables up. It should be stables, because archers lead nowhere for Spanish. Here comes the defensive spearman, but Sicilians suffer from less bonus damage from spears. Quick walls coming in here from Jordan, adding more scouts, and right now they're just trying to delay those buildings, and it looks like we'll have the famous, the very renowned, and the majestic Spanish archer rush coming in here. Nice move so far, as Barles loses his scout. Very, very nice team coordination from Nili and Jordan. Spearman coming in here as well. The range will go up, but these 4 Voyagers could still be exposed to an aggression. Still, Nili is busy walling his base, which means that he's getting slightly overrun on water, but luckily for him, his fishing ships are very, very tanky, so Nili did not lose any fishing ships so far. Blacksmith coming in right now for Valas. One thing that you have to consider is that a counter landing is a possibility, and this is why I think that you have to make your barracks back at home. So if you make your barracks back at home, you can actually go for a spearman to defend. If you don't do that, your opponent will just counterland you, and that's a very, very nice perception from Jordan. I think Jordan knows exactly that the barracks is up. Yeah, he sees the barracks. To him, this tells him that his opponent has absolutely nothing defending back at home, and indeed that's the case. They could jump on the gold mine immediately, but decide to just completely ignore the fact that the opponent is mining gold on that position. It looks like they might be going for a water player, now changing their mind, going for a gold mine. And it looks like Valas hasn't spotted this up until now. Jordan's counter landing doing the damage. Towers come in. And here's the deal. Spanish can actually tower rush you. And the only way you can counter tower is donjons. So Jordan is actually going to go for defensive donjons in here. And that could be troublesome because donjons are much more expensive than towers are. We will have the fire galleys of Barles incinerating the fishing eco of Jordan over here. So Jordan now has idle fishing eco, Nili coming in to relieve him. Still, at this point, there is no gold income for Valas because Jordan's scouts are denying that one over there. And another tower comes in here, the donjon is up, and a couple of sergeants could actually make sense here because sergeants actually have a very, very nice pierce armor as well. Nili, so far he's winning the war on the right side. So, as long as Jordan is able to keep his fishing eco alive, this is fine for him. And Nili is 10 fire galleys versus 7, even though those are Byzantine fire galleys. It looks like we'll have more towers coming in here for Valas. Jordan doesn't have safe stone, that's something to point out. Even though he sent out a couple of villagers to mine stone, I like that quite a bit over there. So, for now, the transport is still alive, but I think the more important thing is that Jordan has a very, very good landing that could harass the opponent on their own islands, and this is why a defensive spearman would have been so helpful. And you see, Valas had to make barracks back at home. That could have been avoided if he makes the starting barracks back at home and only makes the archer range on the opponent's island. That's usually the way that you want to do this. Still, Jordan's fishing eco is slowly going down. Game of Legion still has a 3 villager lead, and we might see Jordan trying to push the land eco of our blue players soon. Nili coming in here with a couple of demos, and he could sink 2 of those fire galleys, as he apparently is successful finishing off the fishing eco of Barles. Jordan still has 3 fishing ships working for him, so that's something, and I feel like this landing was just a little bit underwhelming from Barles+Valas. Still, if you think about the fact that Nili and Jordan are both very, very good water player, whereas on the other side, Barles+Valas, neither of them are really water specialized. In fact, I believe that they hate water, so it's no surprise that the upper hand is in the hands of Game of Legion by a massive margin. You do have Castle Age soon coming in for both GL players. Only Barles will click up to Castle Age, Valas is nowhere close, and that could be troublesome because this is the moment where Jordan could just go for a counter landing, and there would be very, very little that Valas can do to stop that one. So you could even make a sergeant and take down that tower very, very easily here. The transport is still around, so that's something that would be nice to get rid of, as it looks like we'll have Castle Age coming in here at identical times for Nili and Barles. Nili with 9 fire galleys, only 4 for his counterpart over here, as it looks like Jordan is now down to 1 scout. Blacksmith coming in. Oh no, that's a barracks. That's a barracks. Interesting. Why would you do that? It looks like we have a tower rush coming in here for Valas. He decided that, okay, I can't push Jordan, which means that he's going to push Nili now. Nili, nice reaction, dropping 2 defensive towers. I think he was prepared for towers coming in. I also like that he added a dock here at the far left corner. This is a super safe fishing eco for Nili, and could be something that the opponent won't be able to punish. Transport coming back just now for Jordan, as Barles+Valas is slowly losing water. It looks like the villager here will be able to repair the dock, as Admiral Jordan is trying to snipe that whale down right now. The villager is walled around. The tower here will go down. All of these units are inside that are archers and not the villagers, so the villagers are going back somewhere else. This is a nice find though from Valas, finds a couple of villagers on Jordan. Jordan will just run away, might lose a villager or so as he's tacking into scaleboarding, and will most likely go for knights. Probably to clean up the archers first and then go for a landing. The villager here is still alive, but the dock is slowly going down. Nili prioritizing gillnets though, interestingly. That might be a misplay, because You want War Galley as soon as possible, because War Galley is already on the way for Barles. Still, those Gillnet's fishing ships will be great, and you get 6 eco lead already for Gamer Legion, but War Galley is gonna be 20 seconds behind, and that could be an extremely important 20 seconds. I love this move from Barles, finding out about the fishing eco at Nili's base, and Nili is going to have to run away with those fishing ships. Let's see what Jordan is up to. Jordan is dropping TC number 2, going for Knights, and he won't actually bother cleaning this one up. He will go for a landing on the opponent's island. Archers are still out for Valas, but this is what I was referring to. This leads nowhere for Spanish. So you have like no crossbowman upgrade, so you will be stuck with Bodkin arrow archers, which are like eh. So here comes the demo from Nili, trying not to use it on just a single fire ship, and Nili slowly taking water. It looks like, look at this. I think they wanted to drag that spearman into the range of that fire galley so the ship can take it down. Knights now landing in the face of Valas, and as I said, the lack of bonus damage taken by Sicilian Knights is actually great. Like, they take 8 per hit on a spearman versus a knight, and that is absolutely amazing. Stone mine now evacuated for Valas in this one, as Valas is doing his best to just lame all the resources possible. Stonewalling in gold mines, trying his best to make life miserable for Gamer Legion, but GL has a 14 villagers lead right now, a fairly convincing win in terms of water numbers, although it looks like Barles will send all his fleet to the north to prevent Jordan from landing. So these fire ships serve the purpose of preventing Jordan from landing, as we will have a defensive castle for Valas here. He wants to get a couple of conquistadors in for defense, rushing that castle up with everything he has. And on the other side, it looks like Jordan is actually... that was an awful one for Jordan. How many is that? It's like 5 veils? I mean, the Knights were here to clean it up, but Jordan lost like 4 or 5 villagers. So now it's only a 7 villagers lead for Gamer Legion. Still, Nili's got a very, very good fishing eco working for him. Jordan will be on 3 TCs, Nili will be on 2. Whereas now what you have to be careful about if you're Gamer Legion is a conquistador landing. Jordan's transport will get intercepted by the fire ships. Although this is a Sicilian transport, so this guy is withstanding a lot of punishment. Look at this. Look at this. This Sicilian transport just ran past 4 fire ships and still survived. Nili taking the water fight over here on the south. Demos are coming in, and he needs some good demo hits because Byzantine fire ships is not something that he's going to beat one-on-one, but that is the demo ship that you're looking for if you're Nili. An absolutely astonishing demo hit. Here comes the answer from Barles potentially. Still, it looks like now Jordan is dealing with this aggression here, slowly cleaning it up now that he can't actually pressure the opponent's eco. And Gamer Legion does have a 20 villagers lead. Part of this comes from Nili's crazy fish boom. And if you think about this, Nili's at 61 villagers, by far the best in the game. As underwhelming as his first game was, this is a very, very good game so far from Nili. Boso just now coming in for Barles. Look at the eco upgrades as well for Nili and Jordan. Nili even has heavy blow for himself, although that might be a bit of a over investment, so to say, because he has a lot of fishing eco, so I'm not sure if he needs a lot of farms. Dropping some nice and fancy T90 farms around here. And it looks like Valas is still trying to be as disruptive as possible. He's gonna go for a stable, and we'll have husbandry coming in. Nili decided not to take this blast over here with the demo, but then changes his mind, sinks the opponent's fishing or fire ships once again. The numbers are still better for Barles, but we have to consider something. Barles is putting everything he has into this water fight. 4 docks worth of fire ships and demos, whereas for Nili, he's actually having a much better eco expansion behind it. So you see that, yes, in terms of water control, Barles is still pretty much on par with Nili, but Barles is 1 TCing this one, whereas Nili is already on soon to be 3 TCs, and he also has a crazy fishing eco working for him. Transport coming in here from Valas though, as he's trying to hop around with those conquistadors. Jordan already has a defense. Jordan has a monk, and he converted 1 conquistador to prevent those conks from overrunning his eco. Now the transport will probably try to get some damage done on Nili by transporting around his woes. Nili's slowly falling behind in terms of ship numbers. He's down to 5 fire ships as opposed to 18. And, well, that could be quite troublesome. This game is just an absolute mess so far. 5 Conquistadors now, and Jordan has his own as well because he converted a couple. So it looks like, as you see, Nili is pinging this stable location for his teammate, which means that the Knights could actually intercept this villager, which would be a very important villager to kill. You don't want the opponent to have villagers on your side of the sea. Demos coming in here for Nili, getting some nice hits in, but they're slowly getting pushed back on water. And even though Nili's eco is great, what is he going to do if he cannot contest the water at all? And I think that's an overchop. That's an overchop. Oh no. Oh no, things could get really rough, and I think that he can be happy that Valas didn't commit to this. I think Valas saw the monastery and he didn't want to commit to this indeed. But he could still do it, and that means that Nili is gonna have a tough time over here. You got the fishing eco of Nili getting cleaned up, and what was a great scenario for them suddenly turns into something way less convincing. Now, GL still has a massive eco lead, so it's still 40 villagers lead for GL, which is insane. Nili also, if he finishes this wall, and he will, he's not far away from clicking up to Imperial, and indeed, he will just buy himself up to Imp and go for fast fires in this case. So Nili wanted to go into Imperial, he will redock somewhere. Nili's on stone, so I think the most likely thing that's gonna happen, as we see Jordan also adding some ships himself, is that Nili will try to drop a castle somewhere around over here and then get his own navy up. Imperial Age on the way for him, and really, it's one thing that Barles+Valas right now have water, but you shouldn't underestimate the fact that Gamer Legion is a massive eco lead. If you're Barles+Valas though, what you want is a castle drop in the face of either Nili or Jordan. So obviously you would need a lot more stone from Valas for that, but they have the water, they should have no trouble transporting villagers through, and you really want to push on land, because if you don't actually push on land, then they will just get back on water eventually, especially considering that the only ships that Bars has is fire ships. He's transitioning to War Galley very soon. Nili also picking up the relics. Each player has 2 relics close to his base, so that should be guaranteed for all of them. As Jordan went for a very, very land-heavy focus, making 21 skirms to deal with the Conquistadors on their island. It's still a very, very chaotic game right now, and one thing that you have to consider is that Barles+Valas don't have any push on their eco. Bars also going into Imperial. It's a 1TC imp, so his eco is way worse, 64 versus 84. But Byzantine fast fires is no joke. Jordan imping as well though, and that could be a big difference maker because Valas is not close to Imperial Age. It looks like for now, Valas will actually avoid the skirmishers, and he will try to push Jordan's eco once again. Skirmishers trying to catch up with this one. And Nili's gonna go guard towers. Nili's gonna go Yasama towers in here, instead of going for a defensive castle, I believe. He still doesn't have docks though, that's the problem. That, yeah, he's up to Imperial, but doesn't have docks. Big commitment over here from Valas fighting as the initial skirmishers, and that was a good fight for him up until the reinforcements arrived. Jordan trying to quick wall this one as much as possible to limit the movement of those skonks. Takes down another one with the TC, and grabs no conversion right now, but most of those skonks are like half dead. And yeah, Bugum is right, Yasama Towers without a castle feels a little bit awkward, and oh, that's a disaster. Disaster. Conquistadors, War Galleys, it seems like they didn't expect the War Galleys to be here, and Bars will deny the redocking attempt from Nili over here really badly. It looks like Jordan is going for careening and he's gonna go for his own fast fires, so that could still be a thing, because Gamer Legion, like, if Jordan can start producing ships and take these fights, Nili will have the ability to redock. As long as there is no ships from Valas, this is still winnable for Nili and Jordan, but obviously they are gonna have to make it count when it comes to Jordan destroying this fleet over here and then allowing Nili to redock. Conquistadors are still running around, as we now have a guard tower in for Nili to hold against those Conquistadors. The Conks might just run into the skirmishers here. The War Galleys will try to help out against the skirms, but still, most of these Conks will... Actually, will they go down? They won't. because there is galleons shooting at them, or war galleys. There is mangonels shooting at them. There is gonna be conquistadors picking off Nili's villagers, and this is the moment that Jordan is waiting for fast fires. The problem is numbers. Jordan has 5 fast fire ships versus 13 fast fires, but more importantly from Byzantines. Those are Byzantine fast fires that are crazy strong, and there's a forward siege shop as well from Valas. Shipwright coming in for Nili. It looks like he's trying his best to redock, but there is just nowhere to go with those redocks. Trying to get fast fire right now, but still he is just so low on a dock. Jordan can now afford a castle to try and hold his own docks, and it looks like he's going to outnumber the opponent now in this one. The fire gun numbers are still better for Bars, but Jordan will be able to have some breathing room here, and that's what matters. They need to relieve the pressure in here, because the key thing is that they need to start becoming 2v1 on water, otherwise this isn't going to work well for them. Eliminaion seems to have some very messy games on Team Islands so far, as now Jordan will work towards cleaning up those walls that were actually intending to lame his buildings, and now Nili looks like he's once again going to try and redock. This is what I was telling you, that if Jordan is able to distract our red player or our blue player here, there could be a redocking attempt, but I feel like as long as there is no castle here, there is not going to be any great redocking, and the conquistadors will just potentially stop this redocking once again, and Eliminaion struggling to find place on water. And here's the deal, their big advantage was their eco. The eco is gone. The eco is absolutely gone. It's even villager count now. Brawlers take over in terms of villager count and military count, and I have to say that now this is looking really grim for Eliminaion. They have 0 water control. They have weaker eco now. Their navy is like nowhere close to the points. It's 47 fast fires versus 8 galleons. Unless you land some crazy big demo hits here, this is looking really bad. Bars did an excellent job on water, but it was also Valas being disruptive with the Conquistador, because Valas is doing a lot of damage to the opponent here, picking off the villagers that are trying to get the castles up, and here is the castle coming in from Valas in the face of Nili. Other side, Jordan actually managed to successfully redock here, but Nili, still without any water control, tries to go for a guard tower in here and stopping this castle, but that castle I think is going up, and that is looking really rough right now for Eliminaion, because even though they can fall back eco-wise to these wood lines, so it's not like galleons will be able to disrupt their resource income, but now it's Greek fire even for those fire ships, meaning that they will have a bigger range as well. And in the previous set that Nili and Jordan played in the tournament, it was against ACCM and Say My Name. They had a crazy Team Islands game, and they end up winning that. That might not be the case here, because it's looking really grim. I think what you need now, honestly, is cannon galleons. Either from Bars or Valas. Spanish cannon galleons are no joke. As we're gonna have a castle being rushed up here by Jordan, he will immediately queue up traps to try and take down that castle before it even goes up. Indeed, here come the traps, and you gotta be careful. Valas is teching into Cavalier, but if Nili finds a way back to water, which he really wants to, then suddenly they could lose water control. Still, wherever Nili is trying to redock, it seems like the opponents are always there. Same thing for Jordan, they're just unable to get their docks up. And you really have to consider that the eco for the brawlers is better now. They have a completely untouched eco, and that's a big thing. That's a very big thing, and it's about just having no water control. I feel like if you start getting cannon galleons in, Nili's eco could be in massive trouble. We also have another landing over here from Bars. I'm just noticing that this southern pole of the island will also get landed by Byzantine Castle with 7000 HP. Oh my goodness. This feels very much like a 2-0 over here. And Bars and Valas lost 3-0 to Viper and Taro, but I definitely think that that was a fairly hard-fought 3-0 for Viper and Taro. So Bars and Valas are a very underrated team in this tournament so far, and it looks like Nili and Jordan will fall behind by 2 games here in this set as well. I think it was 2 games deficit against ACCM and Say My Name as well. It is 4 traps versus 4 traps firing up hills for Valas. One of those traps is actually targeting a TC here. Jordan committing everything he has to repair that castle, but we'll soon have Cavalier flooding the map here for Valas. And Nili already has to relocate his base, trying to get a castle up here to defend, but by the time he gets traps out, that castle will slowly go down. And Villagers, the Uprising, look at the Uprising over here. Nili is bringing in all the Veils to take down the trap, and there is no defense there for Bars, so that might actually be possible. Now brings the trap back to the castle's range, which means this Uprising, which is a revolution but not Flemish, is going to be a total disaster over there, with all those Villagers going down. Cataphracts now in the landing as well. Here come the Spanish cannon galleons, and man, Barles and Valas are looking extremely good. That being said, Jordan holds this castle for the time being, and Nili also has 4 traps in here, so he takes down the castle of the opponent, and this is a little bit tricky. Because with that many traps, Nili and Jordan can take down the opponent's traps here, and there isn't really a lot of Cavalier to take down the traps or the skirmishers. So Nili and Jordan might be able to hold this position. The bigger question is the southern pole of the map now, because they're just losing that. Karaparuto coming in here for Nili on the castle that is going down, so he's actually making Samurai. He's making Samurai because they know they just need some melee units that deal with Cavalier, so they can clean this one up. Jordan actually did manage to redock, and once again, we could see a turnaround here, because now we're getting Galleons out on the field for Jordan. And this is a typical scenario when I think Barles and Valas feel the blood in the water. They know exactly that, hey, we have the landing, we just need to finish this game. But oftentimes, they allow the opponent to climb back on water, and if the land aggression doesn't work out here, and if this stalls out, suddenly Gamer Legion could have the chance to crawl back on water. So this is still tricky. The water advantage is still heavily on the side of Barles, but Jordan is secretly building a big Sicilian navy here, and like the galleons will be much better at retaining value compared to the fire ships, and like Byzantines should be beaten by these. And oh, wait a second, Cataphracts versus Samurai, who wins that? That's a rare matchup. Technically Samurai should win that, right? Because the Cataphracts suffer from less bonus damage, but the Samurai have so much bonus damage against unique units. That's a super rare matchup, and it's very interesting because technically the 2 units should counter each other, but I think Samurai is slightly better than Cataphracts in there. So Bombard Cannons now out for Barles, trying to take down 1 trap over here. Traps being set up by Barles. Jordan's traps are completely idle over here, as 1 Bombard Cannon goes down. The second trap could be going down very easily from Nili. I'm not sure if he actually ended up grabbing Karaparuto, but Jordan is now bringing the traps, as the foothold is still here. Jordan, however, unleashes his military, and this is going to be interesting, because Nili is also getting back on water, and this might be a very tough hold here for Jordan and Nili, but it's 6 traps, and Nili also has a couple himself, and if they can actually stall this push out, they might reclaim water. Still, this is the time where you have to start thinking about trade. You see that Barles and Valas are already setting up trade themselves, and they will have the power of Spanish trade as well, which is important to point out. So if it's an even trade numbers, the Spanish trade will dominate. Also, Jordan needs to do a lot more babysitting with his ships, so he needs to micro them consistently, whereas Barles can just send them in and say, okay, YOLO, we're going. I don't think that the dry dock is there just yet for Jordan, but that's a lot of ships, man. That's 52 galleons, and elite cannon galleon coming in here. Look at those beautiful Spanish galleons. This is one of the things that you rarely see in any tournament. Spanish cannon galleons, the faster flying cannonballs over there. Nili is also getting a galleon. So I think now the plan is that Nili will try to go for a couple of cannon galleons. And if you can successfully do that, you can start taking down these castles with little hope from your opponent to actually stop that. Here come the light cav. Yasama towers will help quite a bit cleaning up the light cavalry, so will the samurais. Nili is trying to escort the relics back to his own base. Light cav jumping on the traps over here. Cataphracts still with underwhelming upgrades. The samurai also have little upgrades on them, but I think this is not a good fight for Gamer Legion, even though You got orbs now coming in for Admiral Jordan alongside the Yasama Towers. GL is also trying to set up trade as best as they can, but that's a very underwhelming trade, bringing in only 15 gold per trip. On the northern pole of the map, we will have Jordan taking a big fight though. Here come the heavy demos, and keep in mind that Barles is down to 13 ships. Another big demo hit over here, and the thing is that if this push stalls out for Barles+Valas, they're in trouble because they will lose water control, and that could be very troublesome. So, mark my words, I think GL is actually coming back. GL is actually coming back, and that could be a big deal. Like, this foothold is scary, but there is the Japanese traps, and more importantly, if Barles has no navy, Nili can make cannon galleon, and if the cannon galleons start shelling these buildings, there is no answer from the opponent over there, or you can just camp down the trade with some galleons, or potentially cannon galleons as well. Defensive donjons coming in here for Jordan to slow down this aggression. For now, another castle attended. These are Byzantine castles with 7,000 HP. Still, look at these cannon galleons, man. Spanish cannon galleons are so fun. The problem for GL is that their eco is an absolute junk. So, Nili taking into Japanese halberdier against the light cavalry. He's at 78 eco. He needs a lot more eco for himself. But Jordan takes back water, or so it seems, and that could be big. Because taking back water suddenly means that you can start taking out these buildings from water or harass the opponent from water as well. We will have the first castle potentially going down as Valas will try to dive in. A couple of Japanese pikemen will help slowing this one down, but I think Jordan will still lose at least 2 of his traps, if not all of them. And that would mean that this castle is safe. I think that's very bad for GL. They will lose all their traps, but the castle goes down. So 3 traps straight to castle just in time. Nili's got a couple of galleons looping around trying to hit the back of the opponent's eco, but here is Jordan unleashing the fleet as Barles will actually remass his navy and the Valas will also tech in there, so they see the blood in the water in literal terms. As this could be a very ugly sandwich here. Fireships coming from the north and fireships could be coming from the south as well. Jordan could be in trouble because of that. There is a light cav running past over here, hitting the back of Jordan and Nili's eco. They tried to quick wall this one, but that was unsuccessful. And even though there is some donjons protecting the landscape over here, but that's still gonna be a couple of villagers killed here from both Jordan and Nili. Galleon just being teched into here by Valas and Barles, and keep in mind that their gold income is much better because of the trade. So, oh, this is crazy, man. This is just crazy. It looks like now Barles and Valas are actually starting to send villagers over to Nili's islands, and they're just trying to secure every bit of resources that they can. They could definitely think about yoinking some of those relics away. Nili and Jordan both below 100 villagers. On the other hand, I think that this is a massive overboom from Barles and Valas, 150 villagers each, but Nili and Jordan lose the water fight over here, and so far, Barles and Valas don't want to go out. They just don't want to go out, and I did mention that against Viper and Taro they played really well. They could be the surprise team of the tournament, because it's one thing that they won Arabia, but they won potentially the best home map of Gamer Legion, Admiral Jordan, losing on water as well. Very nice combination of water and land engagement. I like the Spanish pick overall. And I feel like the big thing was that Barles and Valas were just very aggressive. In the first game, they actually went aggressive, but it wasn't that much visible. But in this game, this was a very aggressive game for them. You could tell that they saw, hey, my opponent is actually losing water, immediately going for a landing and dropping castles. Very nice combination of civs, and overall very nice execution for Barles and Valas. Barles having a 42-0 or 42 building KD, 126 buildings killed, only 3 lost by him. And the KD advantage is massively on the side of Barles and Valas. Eco-wise, they were far superior as well, because their eco was untouched ever since Jordan landed those 2 knights. So with that, we would go back to game to the lobby, and match point. It's now or never for Gamer Legion C. Nili and Jordan could be out of the tournament here in the group stage. if they lose this game, we will go to their other home map. We haven't seen Kawasan just yet from this team though. So that could be something to consider. We will have Huns, Berbers, Vikings, Turks, Celts, Goths remaining for Nili's team in what could be interesting that we haven't seen Vikings, by the way, on Team Islands. I'm just seeing this. Could be Huns for Kawasan, like Huns, Celts or so. And then go for something like Berbers and... it's hard. No, Berbers, Celts has to be Eruption, which would mean Huns and Goths here, and the Vikings, Turks for Rock Slide could make some sense. Yeah, Vikings will be left for Rock Slide. In here, other side, we'll have Lithuanians, Mayans, Franks remaining, alongside Burmese, Cumans, and Burgundians. We will have Burgundians potentially on Kawasan right now, and keep Lithuanians for Rock Slide and go Mayans on Eruption. We're going to Kawasan, as we will jump into game number 3 in here. So give me a moment to do that, and we will get going with game number 3. It is the final home map of Gamer Legion. They have to pull a reverse sweep in order to be able to have any shot at playing the decider games next week. Capture Age, hello? Oops, we're back. Okay, so, sorry for those technical difficulties. We got Nili and Jordan playing in warm colors. We will have Nili as Celts in red. On the southern part of the map, we'll have Jordan as Huns in a yellow. So once again, Nili is the archer civ and Jordan will be the cavalry civ. We'll have Franks for Valas in a green. And lastly, we will have Barles as Burmese in a blue. I think I like Franks over Huns on this map, but Burmese versus Celts, that's an interesting matchup. I think it depends on how many Arumbai the Burmese can get to, because Celts could have a tough matchup against that. Still, early game, I like Celts a little bit more. They feel like a lot more natural as an archer civ. So we will most likely see something like that. Celts are also solid on hybrid maps, because they have a decent wood income, so they can actually go for a fairly decent galley opening or fire galley opening over there. So with that, we will have a safe pond for each team, as we discussed this in the map review video that I made about the maps. So there is always a pond that is in between two teammates, and there's always 2 ponds that are in between enemies. So you see there's one pond over here in between Nili and Barles, and on the north there is one in between Jordan and Valas. All the relics are in the middle. In fact, they are actually heavily shifted towards the southern part of the map. We'll have berries over here for potential future taking, and that is one of the reasons why Franks can be very useful on this map. If you can secure a forward position on that hill, which by the way is the only hill on the map, and get one of the cheaper Frankish castles up, you can actually drop some mills and get a very, very nice food income from those berries. That is applicable for any civs, but especially Franks could be something to consider. Nili actually playing this one safe, going for Loom before sending out the Voyager to get the fish, whereas Jordan is gonna go for the safe pond, it seems. Can't afford the dock. Jordan? This is much more ambitious from Jordan, because he has no loom on that Voyager. That could be a dead Voyager if a scout finds it. And speaking of scouts finding Voyagers, as much as I was bashing Jordan for not having that Voyager with loom, this is the case as well for Barles. And Barles, despite all his quick polling attempts, loses one Voyager. It's one thing that you lose the Voyager, the bigger deal is that your dock is delayed very, very heavily. So you see Nili is already up with the dock, and he's gonna have 2 fishing ships out by the time Bars has that dock up. Nili punishing his opponent for either not having the scout right next to that Voyager or not having Loom on that Veil. We will have a safe pond coming in here for Valas. So the only uncontested pond on this map will be the northern pond. We'll see if Jordan actually goes for that. Second fishing ship already out for Nili. And as I said, this is a massive lead if you actually compare the two players. Something that could translate into better fuel age time. Better fuel age time translates into earlier fire galleys, and earlier fire galleys could mean that you finish off your opponent on water. So that Voyager pick was extremely important, and Nili is looking for another one. So he was just a couple of seconds too late. The wars will be up for Bars as he's going into fuel age as well. Fuel age coming in for Jordan as well, I believe, who has a super omega open map. Look at this. Look at this. How open is Jordan's map from the left side, from the south? This is a super open map overall. Nili's got a much more vulnerable map. We got a fairly vulnerable map as well for Bars, and lastly, you got a fairly vulnerable one as well for Valas, but that is... this is like nothing, basically. So... it looks like we have a ping here from Jordan telling his teammate that, hey, my opponent is making fish over here. And something that Gamer Legion often does, they did this in the previous 2 polls, they did this in Empire Wars Duo on this map, not just Nili and Jordan, but Viper and Taro as well, is sneak one Voyager to the safe pond, and you see Nili actually has the Palisade wall placed over there. And why? This is the moment where we talk about this. Why do you place a Palisade wall? Why just not send your Voyager there? If you send the Voyager only, then the pathfinding is weaker, but more importantly, the Voyager won't react to a Tiger or Lion attacking him. Whereas if you send the Voyager by placing a building foundation, the Voyager will turn back and fight Predators. That's a massive difference between the two moves, and oftentimes it's better to just drop the forward building. You will cancel this foundation, but... as expected, Nili is going to be mainly focusing on pushing water double docks on his own pond. You can now see why he's picking Celts in this one, although the timing of this one is going to be great for Bars. He is waiting until fuel age and he will punish Nili here, because Nili didn't have those walls up, and that should be a dead Voyager for Nili here. So, Nili's wood income is extremely essential for this one, because without Celtic wood income, you would struggle to afford the double dock fire galley production over here and also afford a dock over here. This will be spotted by Valas, so Valas should queue up a fire galley immediately, because Nili is trying to get his dock up right now. He's a little bit low on wood. It looks like we will have a couple of militias in here coming in for Bars. Bars might try to play with men-at-arms with Burmese that do have the extra attack. Nili also tried to pick off a Voyager here, but that wasn't successful, and Nili is getting the dock up over here. That Voyager is actually weak, but so is the Scout. Oh, this could be so close. Nili quick walling the Voyager, but that fails. He could technically take that fight if he takes the hill, but this is gonna be an extremely important thing, and I feel like if Nili just fights this one, it would have been good. I think he had the HP. He needed 4 hits, and that Scout, I think, needed 5. It was a 22 HP real, which means 5 hits from a Scout, but it was a 12 HP Scout, which means just 4 hits from a Voyager, and that is a disaster for Nili. We will have the 4 was up for Nili. That is definitely a positive, so these militias won't even be upgraded to men-at-arms. And Bars will still lose water, although Bars will actually come in here with a demo, and Bars will come in with the demo. Bars will come in here with the demo. The revenge is there. I think that's a very, very nice value there. That is just absolutely amazing. Because, yes, you lost water, but if your opponent loses the fishing eco as well, that doesn't matter. Now, one thing to consider is that Jordan has a pretty much untouched fishing eco, and he's the only player that doesn't have to worry about this one for the time being. So that could be something to consider. It looks like we have scouts coming in. Jordan with an insane quick gate, by the way. That was an extremely important quick gate that will just hold. So important. So important to hold this one. There was a lion, by the way, that was attacking this villager. But still, the gate goes up. Jordan does have his own scouts around to fight this one. But it might have been overly ambitious opening the gates because instead of... Honestly, this is good for Jordan. He traps that army in there and he can conveniently destroy it over there. Nili still winning the water on the other pond, and Nili is rebuilding his fishing eco. So... as bad as it looks like, that might still not be the ultimate disaster for Gamer Legion, and Nili has another sneaky villager. Nili has another sneaky villager which could pressure the green player's fishing eco, and while Jordan loses this one villager over here to the scout, and now the militias will be heading that way, so will the archers, I feel like the big deal here is that Nili is doing something that Lix often does when he plays with Yo. Just distracting and slowing down two players so that his teammate can boom, and that's exactly what we're seeing over here. Jordan has a pretty much untouched fishing eco here, but Nili is actually occupying both the blue player Barles, who lost his dock already, so Barles has no fishing eco, and both our green player, who still will have a very, very good castle age time because he had the fishing eco alive for so long, but he could be in the danger of losing that fishing eco. Jordan going for bloodlines right now, knowing the importance of the fact that he might need to take this fight over here, as Barles+Valas are trying to block this wall foundation over here. A second stable coming in here for Jordan, but this is going to delay his castle age time very, very badly. And Jordan just now grabbing scale barding, or at least that's probably the plan for him. Archers will now jump on this, but here's the scouts with bloodlines. Jordan will lose villagers. The question is how much he loses here, because he will clean up a lot of archers, down by I think 2 or 3 villagers already. In this fight, the tower does go up, villagers will have to hop inside, and with that, at the end of the day, Jordan is down by 5 villagers. Valas only killed 1 will, but Barles killed 9 and only lost 3 over here. And it looks like we'll have the fire galleys coming in for Valas here with Franks. Still, the fact that Valas will have to fight on water will distract him a little bit, and that allows Jordan to go up into Castle Age and focus on making knights here. And we shouldn't underestimate the fact that Nili's food eco is also pretty good, and he's gonna have all the archers in the world. Jordan actually doing a massive eco balancing so that he can get up to Castle Age. Still is going to be 2 minutes behind, establishing fishing eco on this pond, just like Valas, so we might see some water fights in between the two here. Nili's fishing, or Nili's fire galleys here, have been cleaned up for the time being, and he is not up to Castle Age yet, but he will still beat Barles to Castle Age, as things stand. So it looks like we're gonna have triple stable knights production here. Faster working Hunnic stables with triple stables is an insane flood of knights here for Jordan, who is reinforcing his walls as well. He won't be able to add additional TCs unless he buys stone, because he's at 75 stone. Only scale barding coming in just now for Jordan. And Jordan has quite a lot of scouts. So many scouts that he could make a case for light cav. And if he intercepts this blob of archers, this could be a disaster for Barles+Valas. If Nili spots it, Jordan will intercept that army. And if Jordan intercepts that army, then all the archers are gone, and Nili is gonna have crossbows. Nili is gonna have a completely untouched way into like 15-20 crossbows. They see the archers, and this will be the moment where I think that Jordan could send the scouts in to clean up those archers. He's got bloodlines and +1 defense, picks off a villager over here, and this is the moment when they see it. Knights are also coming in though from Valas chain barring on the way. Nili will actually group his archers inside his walls, going for some contingency walls to slow this aggression down. Double market wall coming in here for him right now. Scouts coming from the back, and if you just kill those archers, that's more than satisfactory. Light cap coming in for Jordan. He will wait with this fight until he grabs his upgrades. Nili is still 120 away from Castle Age. If those knights and archers get into Nili's base, this might be the end of Gamer Legion in this tournament. Nili goes for defensive tower. The house is still holding for the time being. Archers will try to scare away the knights and slow down this aggression. Jordan has light cav now, and the main question is, what is he going to do with the light cav? He grabs a galley, and he's going to push Valas' fishing eco on that pond. For now, Nili loses 2 archers. He's at 8 only against 16, and pretty much even castage time compared to the opponent. The knights are now in, and where is the light cav from Jordan? They will come from the other side, but that's a lot of knights. 10 knights versus only 3, and this is Gamer Legends Tournament Life hanging on the line here. Oh boy. Ecos are dead even, the knights will be taken down, so this might not be the end of the world for GL because they will clean up a lot of army, but they are definitely not leading. They are definitely not leading in this game, that's for sure. Still, this is gonna be quite a lot of archers getting cleaned up here, I believe, alongside the knights, so the numbers for GL might actually start becoming better, and more knights on the way for Valas. He's got +1/+2 on those knights as Nili and Jordan are still somewhat scrambling to hold this one, but it's faster working Hunnic stables, man, and you got 3 of them. So 3 stables as well for Valas. But man, you got +1/+2. Actually, those are very, very good knights for Jordan. I have to say that Jordan is playing insane in this game. For all the damage that he has taken, he's able to support 3 stable knights production just as much as Valas is. And he also has faster working stables, which means that he needs an insane eco to keep that working. Jordan, however, is only 1 TC. Nili is going to be on 2, whereas you already have 2 for Bars and 3 TCs for Valas. But in exchange, Jordan has an untouched fishing eco here, whereas soon Valas will run out of deep fish on this pond. Nili's crossbow numbers slowly getting higher though, and now Jordan is going to secure that pond, which would actually result in quite a decent fishing eco for himself. They actually take the middle for now. Once again, we have camels on this map. By the way, this is a Japanese themed map, so the camels are merely bugs. They should be horses, but still, nice revolts from Nili over here. I think that's very, very important thing to do. Although he could have prioritized, you know, reinforcing this one as well. And look at Jordan. Jordan is pinging this one. Hey, here's the opponent's army. So they will try to jump on that. And for now, it's 17 crossbows against 8. Only Gamer Legion with 4 villagers deficit. They won't go down easily in this one, that's for sure. Because this is their tournament life on the line. Fire galleys are out right now for Valas as well, as a last effort to at least make sure that Jordan doesn't have an easy time grabbing the water over here. We will have ballistics coming in here for Nili. Not something that Bars has up until now either. Bars is actually going for triple range crossbows in here. Still, one of the mutual things about the Celts and the Burmese is that neither of them actually have Arbalest available. So that could be something to consider. Farga is actually finding some monks to kill, but they can't finish them off, and that means that Valas could get 2 conversions if he's lucky. A light calf comes in here from Jordan to pick off 2 monks. Picking off 2 monks would be extremely important here. Here goes one, and the second one will go down as well. Big fight in the middle coming in, and it's a mispositioned army, a massively mispositioned army by our cold color team, Bars and Valas. They split their army, and that means that Jordan's knights can jump on the opponent's crossbows, so they take a fairly decent engagement over here. Nili also getting his crossbows intercepted, trying to get some nice choke point fights in here on these berries. Still +1/+2 on both sides over here. 19 knights versus 16, but only 9 crossbows versus 22, so Nili's gonna have to get some more beef onto the field here. He is on 2 ranges, only just getting range number 3 and range number 4 up here. It's going to take some time until he gets that production working, but now, if he has 4 ranges, he should have the numbers advantage over the opponent. Not necessarily a great fight for Jordan that he has to trade knights while the crossbows are shooting at him, but he's actually taking a fairly decent trade, and it's 17 knights versus 9 only, and now the crossbows can take very nice choke points here. That's the advantage of the berries in the middle. Jordan actually gets a nice surround, so I feel like this is possibly a good one for Jordan, although I'm not necessarily a big fan of committing against this one, and it looks like his knights weren't really attacking that much, so suddenly Jordan's knight numbers evaporate, and with that, it once again is an even game. This is not lemon, by the way. I think there was a stream where I casted the Ornlu and we tried to figure out what fruit is this, because this is fruit, but it grows on a bush, and They are technically supposed to be some kind of African fruit. That's what we figured. But YouTube comment section said that I should just talk about the game and not talk about fruit bushes. So we will not have a discussion on what type of fruit do we have on this. It's not papaya. Papaya grows on trees, I think. So I think our information, all right. We have a bit of a downtime over here in between the fights, so we can just Google yellow fruit that grows on a bush. Loquat, apparently, is what Google says. Also known as Eriobotria japonica. Alright, let's get back to the games over here. So, for now, Nili's gonna have a pretty decent amount of crossbows, up to 46, and we did mention that he's got 4 ranges worth of production. His opponent has had 3 for a while, now it's 5, but Barles is not producing anything. Barles wants to go into Imperial. And this is the tricky thing. Both players from Brawlers will probably have a better aim time than Jordan and Nili, so Jordan and Nili have to commit to this one. Especially Barles getting to Imp could be dangerous, but here's the deal. What will the Burmese do with all those crossbows in Imperial? And the answer is not a lot, to be honest. So I feel like the full Castle Age commitment could work out well for Nili and Jordan. Indeed, Bracer could be a thing, that's totally true, but it's not like that's gonna be as decisive as Arbalest, Bracer, and so. So yeah, Bracer chemistry is definitely a possibility, but lack of Arbalest could hurt quite badly. Game Allegiance secures the middle, Admiral Jordan going for the relics in this one. And it looks like we will have the Imp coming in here first for Barles. Looks like Nili is also going to Imp, so we will see what he can do with his Imp advantage here. That castle is going up here. Nili is too late to stop that one. Nili going for 3 TCs. Voyager count is slightly in the favor of Barles+Valas, but Valas will lose quite a lot of stables, which will delay his progress towards Cavalier. He's got a castle, so Chivalry will be on the way soon. You preferably get Chivalry before you reach Imp, but that's 36 knights and 53 crossbows against just 16 knights. That's the problem for Valas. That's the problem for us. Both of them are going into Imperial, but because both of them invested a lot of resources into their Imp, they don't have the numbers on the field. And this is the part where you're the most vulnerable at. No resources to produce more units, and you're just getting overrun. It was quite a lot of Voyagers killed from Valas, and you see that Valas isn't really getting upgrades like Chivalry or so. Nili's crossbows are marching towards Barles though, and the Celts could eat TCs here. Defensive castle coming in here from Barles. If Barles and Valas reach into Imperial and get their techs in, this could be a GG for Gamer Legion, but they will have a window here, and that's a scary window with 53 crossbows. Nili and Jordan also going into Imperial, but they will be like 2 minutes behind or so. So imagine if Nili was an Arbalest Civ. He would have a crazy death blob over here, but that's not really the possibility right now for them. And Imp is gonna be in faster for Valas, but Valas is gonna have like 10 knights with +1/+2. And he doesn't have Chivalry, and if you look at his resources, Valas doesn't have gold. The break-in here meant that his gold miners were idle. Valas won't be able to grab Cavalier, Blade Barding, all of those at the same time in Castle Age. The Imp TC for Barles is this... Wait, which is the Imp TC? He's already up to Imp, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But as I said, that break-in from Jordan might have been the game changer, because if they just let Valas go into Imperial, they would have just overrun you with Cavalier. But now, Nili is stacking into Halberdier apparently. They are securing the middle. Onager Halberdier seems to be the name of the game, and Jordan is gonna go Cavalier. They're trying to raid the eco of Barles, using their mobility advantage, knowing that the opponent doesn't have a lot of cavalry, and Nili and Jordan switching gears here, melting the TC, as the crossbows are hitting the eco of Barles. Right now, Barles still has a 20 villagers lead, but Imperial Age is in for Nili and Jordan. Mangano takes down one from Nili. Nili is going to take a shot 1-for-1 over there. But Blade Boarding and Cavalier will actually be faster for Jordan than it is for Valas. And that could be a massive, massive deal here. Really, the ability to delay Valas to gold, like pushing this gold mine, means that Valas isn't able to afford Cavalier. I'm not going to, like, over-exaggerate things, but I think Jordan, with the cavalry push on this gold mine, saved the game for Nili and Jordan. Without that, Valas would have had Cavalier and Blade Boarding much, much sooner, and now Jordan is breaking into Valas' base. Jordan is playing out of his mind in this one. He doesn't want to go down 3-0. Nili is going to be having quite a lot of crossbows, but that won't really help, and here is now +2, +4 Cavalier, as opposed to our green player having 16 Knights on the field. It's only Knights with +1, +4, and the mobility advantage will now be big, and guess what? What do Burmese do? They will have, sure, Bracer, but it's still crossbowmen with no chemistry. +4 defense Cavalier will eat them up. This is a very, very tricky thing, and look at Jordan just flooding everything with Cavalier, and that is starting to be a crazy advantage for Gamer Legion. Nili now going for most likely Halberdier and Onager in this one as well. They have the middle. They are starting to set up trade over there in these corners. So does Barles and Valas. And now, just now, Cavalier is in for Valas, but he's at 16 Cavalier as opposed to 29. Those Cavalier only have +1 attack, whereas Jordan's Cavalier have soon to be +4. And look at those resources. Jordan will actually click into Imperial in a matter of moments. Look at the villager KD. Valas killed 6 villagers, lost 54. And if we look for a reason why Gamer Legion is winning this game, is this. Jordan killed 55 villagers, only lost 6 here. Accidentally selected a different color for Jordan, so we're gonna have to scroll back to yellow. But now it is gonna be Paladin in 140, whereas Valas is nowhere close to Paladin. And the thing is that the Burmese player, what can he do to help? He can, like, go a run by, but that takes so much time to pass, and we already have just now Manganos, but Onagers will be there with Halberdiers, and these crossbows are also pretty good at trading off against a run by. All you have to do is just make sure that your opponent isn't able to get to good run by numbers. And look at this. While Valas is busy chasing down the army of Jordan, who is waiting for the Paladin upgrade, we'll have some more Paladins coming from Jordan. Jordan's at 42 cavalry. Jordan is playing out of his mind, man. Like, this is a 10 out of 10 gameplay from him. And now that Nili is pretty much 1v1ing Barles over here, and Barles has to defend against the aggression at the back of his base, Nili is also slowly crawling ahead, although Onagers would be much preferred for him to have. But I feel like the big difference is going to be the fact that Jordan will have Paladin in a moment. In fact, here's Paladin. He turns back immediately. This is +4/+4 Paladin versus +1/+4 Cavalier. So you can see that Jordan is clapping the army of Valas, and this seems like just a never-ending flood of Paladin from Jordan. He's getting a castle up here to secure that gold mine as well. And we only have 100 villagers for Valas, but the bigger problem is all the idle time that is there. Nili is setting up trade right now. And with that, Valas and Barles tap out. I have to say that Jordan played a 10 out of 10 game. Nili probably did quite a lot of slinging at the end of the game, because in Imperial you can sling, and indeed, that's the case. That makes some sense. I think in this situation, you can afford to have a sling from Nili, because the inevitable Paladin flood from Jordan is going to be extremely important. Because you have the numbers advantage over your green player, and Barles was just not able to interfere. That's the thing. Like, he's got crossbows, but those won't stop Paladins. And with that, Gamer Legion not going out just yet. A crazy game from Jordan. Nili had an okay game, but I feel like this was massively, massively decided by Jordan. So with that, Jordan, as you see, the KD 197, 116. But really, gold income wise, he actually had 4,000 more compared to Valas, and that is a huge, huge advantage at this stage of the game. So, with that, we are gonna have the fourth game coming in here in a matter of moments. So let's take a look at what civilizations do we have left for that one. So we will have double Lithuanian bans, by the way. That's something. Oh wait a second. Overlay. I'm just noticing. This is the first time I'm looking at it. Don't be misled by this one. This is obviously wrong. This is not Doubt A versus Doubt B. So instead of talking about those, because apparently this includes all the maps being wrong and whatnot, just completely ignore the fact that the overlays are wrong. And let's go into game number 4 instead, without delaying anything else. So hopefully the overlay is actually going to wake up. No worries, it is a bit of a technical difficulty, but we'll hurdle through that. So, we are going to go into Eruption. It is game number 4 in this best of 5 in between Barles+Valas versus Nili+Jordan. We will have Bars with Mayans in blue on the south. Left side of him is going to be Valas' Cumans in green, not a civilization that we have seen very frequently on this one. On the north, we will have Turks for Nili in red, and right side of him is going to be Berbers for Jordan in yellow. So the real question is, what do you do here? Because both Turks and Berbers can actually fill the role of an archer civ and a cavalry civ as well. It feels more natural to me to see like Turkish cav archers, like first archers into crossbows, and then cav archers and Berber cavalry. But a lot of things could be in consideration here for Gamer Legion. On the south, we will have, as I said, Mayans for Bars and Cumans for Valas. This feels like a better civilization combination for the Brawlers. So Cumans is a very, very natural cavalry civ. You will have the bonus of the Palisade walls being stronger, which helps quite a bit when it comes to defending your early base, I believe. On the other side, Mayans will be just an absolutely astonishing civilization for this map. Great archers, but there is a lot more things to like about that. For example, the fact that you have longer lasting resources helps immensely as well with Mayans, lasting a little bit longer on the outside in case you get pushed off from the middle. It looks like Bars might be missing out on 2 of his sheep for the time being. Lurzin bore number 1 just now. We have an aggressive scouting here from Nili, taking a look at the base of Valas. Same aggressive scouting as well for Bars. He is real an eagle, so you could definitely consider laming a boar. Let's see if he does that. He sees the boar, he sees the stragglers, he's waiting for the villager. He doesn't want to steal the boar, he wants to kill the villager of our yellow player. He doesn't know who he's up against, by the way. He doesn't know if this is Jordan or Nili, he just realizes this is Jordan. And he's waiting for the opportunity to block that villager, and the opportunity may have just arrived. The boar just now coming in, eagle reacting, but that eagle was too far away. That eagle was too far away. You might actually try to de-aggro the boar, but this is a very, very underwhelming lame attempt from Bars, I have to say. And the board will be successfully in without any major problems, to be honest, for Jordan. So that went a little too low. Anyways, we'll have our Cuman player, Valas, in green. So he's walling quite heavily, and with Kumans you could think about the fast castle here, and then start building your second TC while you're going up to Castle Age. That could be a possibility if you don't want to go for scouts. He is free on wood, however, so I would think it's gonna be a fast feudal into a second TC boom, though. We'll see what Gamer Legion tries to do to counter that. We'll have Wars coming in here for Barles as well. So, still missing out on 2 of his sheep. One of the reasons why is because he was focused, you know, on making sure that he is trying to lame the Voyager of the opponent here. And there's a chance he might not find 2 of his sheep over here, which would be obviously a disaster. Jordan going for what appears to be a 21 pop scouts build, going for a safer approach, not just gonna go for a fast castle, even though his base is fairly defendable. And for Nili, it looks like he's the one going for an FC. I would love to see Janissaries, but I feel like we won't, so it might just be an FC into Archer Crossbow. And so we will have a few Lage coming in here at the 20 pop for Valas, signaling that he's gonna go for a 2 TC boom. So you will have, I think, just enough wood for him to drop that second TC. That second TC has to go, I think, over here, because that would secure a wood line and gold as well. His right side is still disturbingly open. Interesting decision from Valas to keep that open, because he put a lot of effort into walling his base from the front and the back. But, man, this right side is still wide open. Jordan will be fully walled, and so will be Nili, who is going for what appears to be naked fast castle for the time being. There is no deer to be pushed in close to your base. The only way you can push in deer is from out here, but that takes quite some time to do, so you can't really push in that much deer, which means that if you fast castle, you have to do it with quite a lot of farms, like 5, 6, 7 farms potentially. Jordan is going for the eco-heavy approach as well, and it looks like he won't go for a stable. I like this. This is just feudal boom into Castle Age, which means that his eco is going to be a lot more efficient going into Castle Age as compared to a fast castle. And he's also way less exposed to like early aggression like archers or so, because he can still make defensive towers. He's going to have the extra HP on the palisade walls. Worst case scenario, he can still make a stable and go for a couple of scouts to defend, although I feel like he wants to avoid that. They probably suspect the opponent, Valas, with 2 TC boom, so they know exactly that. I would think that what Jordan needs to do is just boom into Castle Age, and if Nili goes for a fast castle crossbow play, you are gonna have a couple of crossbows that secure the middle and you drop TCs there. Indeed, this is basically an active volcano, that's why the map is called Eruption, and this is volcanic ash around the ridge. Although there is no lava for us today, the players can actually walk on that. So we will have gold mine coming in here for Jordan. He goes for 10 farmers, which is a clear signal that this is just a boom straight into Castle Age here. The eco will still be better for Barles and Valas, but the real question is, I believe that if Barles and Valas do not contest the middle, then Nili and Jordan will be able to secure the middle very, very easily for themselves. Borax just now coming in for Jordan, which means that he will probably go up to Castle Age with stable blacksmith. This is just like a scouts build order, but without scouts, so to say. So we'll have, as I said, 2 TCs for our green player. We have 32 Vultures right now, which is not that super impressive given the fact that Jordan is at 29. So that is far from ideal. We will have double range archers coming in here for Nili. Only single range archers for Barles. He's going up to Castle Age right now, so is Nili. So if Nili goes for double range archers, they should have the advantage in terms of crossbow numbers, which can be very, very helpful. The other thing is that Jordan is guaranteed to beat our green player into Castle Age, which means you could have early knights. I feel like this might be a little too greedy from the brawlers, because if Jordan goes for like 2 stable knights supported by Nili's crossbows, they will be able to drop TCs in the middle. And TCs in the middle will make it very, very hard for Barles+Valas to push there. If you are Bars, on the other hand, though, you are thinking about mining stone at some point and going for an early castle, drop maybe just on the ridge or so, and get plumed archers out on the field. So, with that, we will have double ranges as well for Barles, with double ranges now as well for Nili, but it's 5 archers versus 3, and Nili is already moving out, securing the middle. This is all about securing the middle. I feel like the first team that gets theses in the middle could have a massive advantage over the opponent, and really, the bigger problem for Barles+Valas is that they will fall behind in knight numbers really badly. So, while the eco for Valas will be way better than Jordan's eco, reality is that the army quality could be pretty bad, and aggressive play from Nili and Jordan with knights and archers could definitely punish Valas for that. Valas is actually double layer Kuman Pal side wall, so the 2 layers actually combine for almost as much HP as Feudal Age stone walls do. As Jordan is just not getting scale barding in, he is gonna go double stable knights. No forward TC just yet from our Gamer Legion team, but this is the moment where the crossbows arrive towards the base of Valas. Valas, nice reaction over there, jumps into the TC, not losing a single villager just yet. And for now, it looks like Nili will be playing 1 TC back at home. This is the time, if they want to move out, to drop a TC in the middle, that's the time to do it, but it appears that Gamer Legion will not actually consider such an action just yet. Archers and now crossbows moving out for Bars as well, but they could be intercepted by a couple of knights, and that could be very, very troublesome for our blue player. We still have crossbows coming in for Nili, but eventually he will switch to Cav Archer. So, crossbows trying to look for villagers on wood lines, but that won't happen. But I love this from Nili. Look at this. 1 crossbow at the back of the wood line, being able to harass it, is extremely helpful. It's not a big investment, but it makes life so much worse for Valas. On the other side, we'll have the walls of Valas open for his teammates so the crossbows can move in. But this is the time when you actually think about moving towards Bars, because once you see the opponent's crossbows inside the cavalry player's base, you can just go towards the blue player and try to hit him 2 versus 1. Nili still on crossbows, goes for +1 defense. Still 1 TC build from both players, triple range crossbow from him. And it looks like we're gonna have double stable knights right now from our yellow player. Only +1 defense, though no +2 defense. Valas is going up to Castle Age, and we shouldn't underestimate the fact that he's gonna have a 20 villagers lead over Jordan here, and that should be a free, stable, fairly consistent knight production, and that feels very, very, very concerning for Nili and Jordan. So to say, knights are trying to open up a new angle, and they should be able to spot the stables, which to them should tell that their opponent is up as well. Still 1 TC from Nili's team goes for ballistics, but I feel like Turkish crossbows are okay, but Mayans will still be fairly cost efficient against that. Ballistics is just now in for Barles, and for now, the big deal is this bar. 100 villagers for Bars' team, 77 only for Nili's team, so they gotta be super duper aggressive here, and it seems like that's the plan for Gamer Legion. They go for triple range crossbows, double stable Berber Knights, but I'm actually surprised that Jordan just going for double stables, because if you only play 1 TC, you want to play triple stable Knights, but if you play double stable, you should be able to go for additional TCs in the middle. For example, Nili's crossbow here will get intercepted. Still, it is 24 crossbows to 19, and Bars is gonna have a hard time reinforcing his teammate. That's the big deal. These crossbows are out here in the open, and there is no real tools or no real ways for Bars to get those crossbows to his teammate's base. So we'll have +2 defense coming in here for Valas. Loses 2 Voyagers, trying to get the market wall up to delay this push as much as possible. Buy himself some more time for +2 defense. Jordan just now grabbing Bloodlines. That's a very, very late Bloodlines. But he's gonna have +1/+2 Bloodlines Knights versus those Knights that will only have +2 defense. Crossbows moving in, and as I said, the temporary numbers advantage is on the side of GL here. We have 14 Knights against 13, but more importantly, just 7 crossbows versus 18, and Nili is bringing in some more reinforcements soon. The farmer is getting picked off here very, very nicely from Voss, and that means that he's gonna have a somewhat wacky food eco. It doesn't matter how many Voyagers advantage you have if half of your eco is idle, and denying half of the food eco matters a lot because that pretty much cripples this free piece or free stable Knights production. The market is gonna go down, which will mean that balancing the eco is gonna be harder, and this is the moment where I think a lot of things will be decided because the Knights will jump on top of Nili's crossbows. And so far this actually is a better fight for Nili and Jordan, a way better fight, man, because those crossbows were just a little too late to the party, and Jordan having +1 attack absolutely helps here as well. The Knights getting cleaned up. Jordan's cheap Berber Knights, now coming from free stables, I believe, they are overrunning the opponent, and one of the reasons why Berbers is so strong on this map is because the cheaper Berber Knights can overrun the opponent, and Gamer Legion, they were down 2 games against ACCM in Say My Name in their previous round set. And they actually mounted a comeback for a 2-2 and then ended up losing. It looks like we are getting closer and closer to another even score. And it is 19 crossbows against 22, but 13 Knights against 5. And most importantly, these crossbows have to move through open field to get here. And that's a big deal. Because open field, the Knights will just jump on them. Still just 1 TC for both Gamer Legion players though, so the Brawlers still have the eco lead, but they're losing way too much ground in their eco, and look at all the idle time for Valas, who by the way isn't able to access his gold. No gold income, no food income basically, as now the Knights will just dive beneath the TC and start killing the Voyagers that can't fit into the TC. 59 Voyagers for Valas. Jordan is up to 50, so the Kuman advantage seems to be gone now, and it's not great when your Kuman 2TC boom can accomplish just as much as a free stable play from Berbers. Nice find from Nili, denying the other gold mine as well, and Nili and Jordan are absolutely playing a great game here. They know exactly that their opponent is going to go for the other gold mine, and they were anticipating this, picking off all the Voyagers. Voyager count for the Kuman player is exactly the same as the Voyager count from the Berbers player, and now, as I said, Nili and Jordan will try to jump on those crossbows over there, even though they will actually find shelter inside the base of Barles+Valas. Now a second TC coming in for Nili in the middle. Soon we'll have to start thinking about transitioning to Cav Archers because we're getting to a later and later stage of the game, but still not a very convincing gold income for Valas, and Nili and Jordan will just hold the hill here for the time being. Nili second TC in the middle, and remember that the clock is ticking for Barles+Valas. They have to get to the middle, otherwise they will have no gold income. In fact, if you take a look at the remaining gold inside Valas' base, he has like 600 gold to work with, and as long as he's unable to secure that gold mine, he won't be able to make heavy cavalry. So it's just a matter of time right now for Jordan and Nili. All they have to do is slow down the push of Barles+Valas, and they will be able to starve their opponents out of gold. Bit of a miscommunication here between Nili and Jordan because they leave Nili's crossbows alone, but also Jordan jumps on top of the crossbows of our blue player, and this is still a better fight for Nili's team. They do have the hill advantage here, firing down hills, +2 defense versus +2 defense, but it's 62 army against 36, but more importantly, where is that 36 army? It's all here. And that's not where Gamer Legion is pushing. Gamer Legion is pushing this angle. No wood income right now for Valas. No gold income. This game seems to be over because Gamer Legion is just starving Valas out of resources, and the Flood of Knights prevents Bars from aiding with the cavalry or with the archers. So whenever Bars tries to move up with the crossbows, Jordan will just jump on those with like 25 cavalry, and that will prevent any kind of reinforcement over here. It is 8 knights against 26, 42 crossbows against 38, but the map position is just so great for Gamer Legion, and now it seems like they're absolutely jumping on top of the opponent. There is nowhere to go for Valas now. There's absolutely nowhere to go. Here come the crossbows to reinforce, but at this point, every voyager that goes down for Valas hurts so much. Gamer Legion also has the control over the middle, which helps immensely for them. And look at this. Look at this for Valas. This is... He's got no economy. He's got 53 Voyagers working for him, but that basically feels like nothing as Nili loses a couple of crossbows to the TC fire. But here come the Knights to clean up the crossbows from Bars. And remember that behind this one, Valas is out of gold. And he's at 51 Voyagers, Jordan's at 58. Gamer Legion's aggressive play is actually counting or coming in. The Wolf is just randomly killing Villagers, and here's the deal: if you jump into the TC with the Vills, that means the crossbows can jump in there, and the TC will just be full. At this point, if you're Jordan, you can just commit to this and make sure that the opponent has full TCs, and you just kill every Voyager that's beneath it. And you already have more Knights coming in. It's 1 Knight versus 27, and even though the crossbow numbers are very close, the cavalry is just crazy for Gamer Legion. Who would have thought? Reverse sweep may be on the way, because it is a 2-2 set between the two teams, and it seemed like it's gonna be an easy win for Bars and Valas after the first 2 games. But Gamer Legion once again makes it into game number 5. 1 game to decide the outcome of the entire set. 1 game to decide who gets to the decider games and who goes home with a loss in the group stage. In the previous round, Nili+Jordan took it to game number 5 against the ACCM and Say My Name, but ultimately ended up losing. Let's see what they can do in game number 5. This time, I feel like the momentum is definitely favoring them, so they feel confident. And we will go to Rock Slide as a decider game with Lithuanians and Burgundians for Bars and Valas, some heavily mismatched civilizations, if you ask me, versus Vikings and Goths. And I have to say that Vikings and Goths are civs that I favor very massively for Gamer Legion on this map. Rock Slide to decide everything over here, so let's not waste time and jump into game number 5 over here. Rock Slide, a map that actually has or requires a lot of preparation, because there is no clear meta on how to play this map. In fact, this is the first time we're seeing this in a 2v2 random map setting. We're gonna have Nili playing as Red Vikings on the south. To the left of him is going to be Jordan as Goths in yellow. Other side, we will have Lithuanians for Valas in green, and Bars will be playing Burgundians in blue. It kind of feels like they wanted to avoid using Burgundians overall, because they could have gone it like Burgundians on Arabia or so, but nope, they were like, I'm fairly certain that Bars and Valas tried to avoid playing Burgundians. So these civilizations are heavily mismatched, both of them being very cavalry focused, even though Lithuanians do have their archer component with cav archers or crossbows, but I feel Vikings and Goths could be a much more natural civ here. This map also has the tendency to go late into Imperial, so the thing is that at that time Goths could flood the map, but there is a big factor to talk about. On Rock Slide, all the stone is in the corners, which means that we will not see a single Huskarl until our Gothic player, Jordan, will actually start chopping towards the stone. So this is going to be very interesting. I have to say that Gamer Legion is super unlucky with the relic spawns. Look at those relic spawns. All 5 of them on the right side of the map, basically. I mean, one of them is in front of Nili's base, but There is nothing close to Jordan, and there is like 2 that's very, very easy to pick up for a Lithuanian player in green, and that should be a massive advantage for Valas over there. That being said, we are gonna have most likely galleys for Nili's team over here. So one of the reasons why Vikings can be so strong here is because their galley play on water could be important. And what is Valas up to with 3 villagers? No way. He wants to wall his teammate in. He wants to wall his teammate in. Or not his teammate, but his opponent. I am fairly certain that's the plan. He might be trying to lame the berries as well, but 3 villagers is a little too much for that. Nope, it's a forward, actually. It's a super fast forward. What even is this from Barles? This is basically a Premier Dash timing, but this is a forward Barracks Drush, but why do you pull 3 villagers for this? Is he really going to try and just trap Nili inside his base? Nili is going for the dock already, and here come the militias. So Nili's gonna have to evacuate those berries, but that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work, Valas. And this is very, very ambitious. Here it comes! Whatever happens, I feel like we have to give credit for Barles+Valas for style points. You could potentially trap Nili inside his own base. Nili is trying to drop house foundations to prevent that one from happening, and I think Nili can just pull more. Nili loses a villager here. Nili doesn't have loom! Nili doesn't have loom here! Just bringing in loom loses 2. Oh my goodness! No! What is happening here to Nili? He's fighting without loom. It's better to be walled in and have your villagers alive than actually lose 5 villagers or so. Oh man, and now I think that Valas has to be happy with this. He can just leave. He did lose, I think, 1 villager or so. Actually, this might be, as weird as it sounds, this might not be a deciding thing. It looks like, by the way, we have the same thing on the other side. Jordan actually punishing his opponent. This was the grand plan for Barles+Valas with those civilizations, that they would just go for this double forward, but as much as Nili was losing that fight on the south, Jordan is winning the north. And one thing that I would like to highlight is that even though Nili did lose 2 more villagers compared to his opponent, he's Vikings, so he will actually have at least an okay-ish situation here, eco-wise. So not necessarily ideal, but I mean, it could have been worse, it could have been better. So we will have the militias coming in here for Jordan. That's militia number 5, and that's one of the fun things about this map. It's absolutely not defined on how you play this. It's a flood of militia right now. Jordan actually has 5 militias out here. It's an Omega Drush, so to say. Now, speaking of Drushes, Nili actually makes a fishing ship, which actually helps compensate quite a bit for his lack of eco. But the Drush is trying to stop that one as much as possible. Drush coming in here from Jordan, trying to hit the gold mine. Jordan at 5 militias still. Who is going to get to Fuel Age first? Because that's the main question. We might just see sort of Drush FC-like plays here. So I like that Nili actually goes for a shortfish. That helps immensely for him, and if he's able to beat Valas into Feudal Age, which seems very likely, Valas is still Dark Age. Like, super Dark Age. And this could be big, because if Nili reaches Feudal Age here, he just needs 1 galley. And 1 galley will deny this gold mine immediately. So that is huge. It looks like Valas will actually decide to lame the gold mine here, and this is once again ambitious from Nili. He's up against 4 militias. He's gonna have to run back home. First to Fuel Age will be Nili, and just 1 galley here could be so important. And the alternative is that Jordan will loop around and hit the gold mine of Valas over here with his militias. Beautiful eco from Valas, by the way. He's got 13 berry villagers, as he's just trying to wall himself up knowing that the militias will be coming. So, for now, Nili is actually going to use that fishing eco to sort of compensate for his early villager losses, but really, we are going to have like a 13 minutes feudal age here from the first player that reaches feudal, and Nili might just go try and get some archers out as well to clean this one up. We will have this Voyager not getting picked off just yet. It can still quick wall herself, or nope, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. That is a dead Voyager from Valas. Nili loses his scout and Nili still has to chase with Voyagers, but both Gamer Legion players are actually going up the field age, whereas now it's a Drush pushing this, and once you have a galley for Nili immediately queued up upon reaching field age, they will be able to push this one, and that should be 2 dead Voyagers from Valas. Nili actually goes for defensive tower on this gold mine over here, so he gives up on his best available gold mine and he goes for this one. Feudal age just now coming in for Barles and Valas, but this was very, very chaotic. I like this quite a bit for Jordan. He made a second mill. He didn't have to invest into the first one because you get that for free in this map, but that means that he can afford a second mill, and he did so to secure some shorefish for himself. So Gamer Legion, I think, is actually using this map a little bit better than Barles and Valas is doing so. Despite the fact that this is, by the way, the home map of Barles and Valas, it seems like Gamer Legion has a little bit better game plan for this map so far. So it now looks like we're gonna have a forward archer range here for Jordan to pressure the gold mine of Barles here, and it looks like the militias will take the fight against the Voyagers. The galley is already in here, and if you get the galleys in, you can trap the opponent inside his base, cutting him off from all accessible gold. The Voyager will go down from Valas here, and another one could buy the dust in a matter of moments. Voyagers running to the outside to try and secure some extra gold, but that's not gonna happen on this gold mine. Second dock coming in here for Nili. But here come the archers, and just 1 or 2 archers could force these Voyagers out of here, and the scout and the militias could definitely go for it. And look at Jordan. He actually turns this into a Drush FC, and the early knights on this map could be crazy. With that, there is 2 docks up for Valas. He's gonna go for fire galleys, which means that the early galleys will not be that efficient overall. Still, now it is a defensive tower being rushed up by Barles. He has to have that gold mine. He's trying to get that up, but it seems like Gamer Legion fell short to ACCM and Say My Name in the previous round in game number 5 after almost launching a reverse sweep. In this set, it starts to look more and more like Gamer Legion will actually be able to edge out a victory. They definitely have the upper hand in this one, especially with Jordan getting up to castle age. He's gonna go for a market, and you could think about a second TC, but he doesn't really have the stone for it. Or the alternative is that you're just gonna go for a stable and get a couple of knights out. Knights hitting this part of the green player's eco would be a massive advantage. Now we have some shore fishing coming in here for Valas, and Barles is also on the way to castle age, so let's not underestimate that one for now, especially with that gold mine actually being safe with a defensive tower. Still, the gold mine is actually being denied, and that is extremely important. So as long as that gold mine is just denied, that's an advantage for Jordan, who is going for the famous and well-renowned Gothic crossbowman. Down south, we will still have the galleys for Nili. Has a decent amount of galleys now, but that allows Valas to get a defensive tower up while he was retreating from the fire galleys. Second TC coming in for Jordan, so Jordan might play a very, very eco-heavy game over here, but I don't necessarily like the fact that I don't see a single knight from him. Just 2 or 3 knights could do so much damage, and you should consider the fact that Valas is preparing scouts. And that's not something that Nili sees. Scouts could definitely hit Nili hard over here, although, yeah, Nili has to balance his eco. He's floating a lot of gold for now. Archer armor on the way for Barles. He's actually going for defensive skirmishers, because he doesn't really have the gold for his own archers, and he doesn't really have the numbers either. Galleys still taking some good engagements over here, but the main question is now, what can the players do with castle age? Barles is floating a lot of wood. He's at 600 wood, and I think he just sold some more grabbing boso just now. So he doesn't have a safe gold mine, but this is the part of the game where you can actually drop a TC. And if you are Barles, you want to drop a TC here. buy the stone that you need, especially with all the resources that you're floating. Just balance your eco, buy the stone, drop a TC here, because right now the biggest problem that Barles is facing is protecting this gold mine, which apparently is a too tough job for him as things stand. 2 TCs for Jordan, the only player with multiple, and I believe that is going to be the TC spot for Barles indeed. Here it goes. Nili has the galleys out, but there's limited mobility with those galleys, whereas the scouts could actually do quite a lot of damage to Nili's eco here. Nili can jump into the tower, but still, that's not necessarily ideal to lose villagers to scouts. And by the time those scouts arrive to the other side of the map, they will have bloodlines as well. So the timing should be very, very good here for Valas, but if he grabs bloodlines, although forging would be a little bit helpful when it comes to killing villagers, but still, bloodlines will guarantee that these villagers won't fight back. Second TC coming in here for Barles, or, well, denied for the time being, and Jordan coming in here with knights, and this is what I was referring to. Just a couple of knights in here could be important, and Barles doesn't have gold income. Barles is trapped within his own base. Nili now has his gold mine being jumped on by the scouts, and that means that he's got no real defense against that. Goes for dock number 3 and adds a couple of spearmen. These are Viking spearmen with extra HP as well. But I think the main factor is Jordan taking a very, very good 1v1 on the north versus Barles, because Barles is definitely on the back foot, just struggling to access gold. He doesn't really have the tools to stop knights now, and he will have to buy monks to be able to do that. I could see indeed some sneaky villagers on the right side, because you need a TC on a gold. Once you get a TC up, you can actually just send those villagers in, like the ones that you make on that TC for gold. Here comes a counterattack from Barles, but they will actually be just a little too late stopping that TC. A couple of seconds earlier they arrive, and they could have stopped this TC, and I believe that Barles knew exactly that Jordan will try to TC that wood line, because he wants to get access to stone, and we're getting close to a Gothic player going for a free TC boom. Nili is also up to Castle Age, as he cleans up the scouts from his gold mine, or at least he scares them away for a time being. And last player to Castle Age is going to be Valas, who is getting quite a lot of cavalry upgrades in, so he will try to go for a cavalry-focused approach. But Nili, once he gets War Galley, he can jump on that tower. That's for sure. So TC number 2 is in for Barles just now. Jordan has a 57 villager count right now, by far the highest in the game. And Jordan is playing out of his mind in this set. Like, especially even the Team Islands game, he played really, really well. But I think that the Kawasan game, then the previous one, and even this one, is Jordan just played absolutely amazing in those. Still, Nili is doing his job here really well, and what he needs to do is just trap his opponent inside his base. Like, limit the movement, prevent the gold income. Valas is actually gonna be able to reach Castle Age, so he will make a TC here on the gold. He will have consistent gold income. It's a matter of making sure that the villagers from here cannot go anywhere other than wood, because you don't have space for more farms. So what can you do? And Nili, it looks like he's actually attacking into pikemen even. I would love to see this one being followed up by pike and siege, and Nili even adding some longboats here. Or it would also make sense for Nili to send a couple of longboats here to try and harass Barles, who is 51 villagers, 17 behind compared to Jordan, but there is the Bulgarian Cavalier from Barles in this one, so he wants to get some cavalry out on the field. What I would love to see from Nili is a pike and siege approach now, like forward siege workshop and try to go pike and siege, because what can Valas do if you push this part of his base with pikemen and siege? Nothing. Like, he can do nothing to stop that one. Forward monastery coming in here for Valas to potentially try and get some conversions on the knights that Nili would convert. Nili loses a villager here, dropping the outpost, but Nili is also going for a second TC here on the wood line. Vorgal is now in here for Nili, which is extremely important. He could actually finish off that tower and then once again limit the movement of the opponent, and trapping the opponent inside his base like that is absolutely crazy, because right now what Nili needs to do is just delay the opponent. If Jordan is allowed to boom and Jordan is dropping TC number 4, he will just flood the map with the Gothic infantry. Forward monastery coming in here for Valas. who still doesn't have a single relic. By the way, it looks like Jordan is overtaking into champion, interestingly. So that's a little bit of a questionable idea. We'll see what he thinks about that, because they're gonna be up against Knights and potentially Cavalier. So at this point, the TC goes up, and that means that they won't be able to pressure Nili's eco over here. Siege Workshop comes in right now for Nili, as the pikemen might get intercepted by the elite skirms. Some more pikemen on the field for Nili. Nili's got decent upgrades on those. Well, it's just +1 defense, but it's also Viking pikemen. And for now, Nili's doing what he has to. Just trap the opponent inside their base. And that could be extremely important factor later on, because you can only send these Voyagers on wood, but that's all that you can do, so to say. So, with that, Nili is now holding, and I think the big deal for Gamer Legion is their eco. It's not necessarily about Nili's eco. Nili's eco, in fact, is absolutely horrendous. Nili's at 41 Voyagers. But at this point, Nili is doing what Lix does for Mr. Yo. Just being annoying, being disruptive, and making sure that he doesn't die. And also he's got Viking eco, so 43 Voyagers is still a little bit misleading there, but still, Nili's eco isn't great. But behind this one, Jordan can just boom like a madman to 100 Voyagers already, tacking into Swordsman, and that could be extremely difficult for Barles+Valas to hold. Still, Nili's gotta be careful because his army is far from being amazing, and the same applies to his eco. So we will have one Mangonel being sniped down over here. Valas picks off another Mangonel, very, very nicely done over there. So yeah, this is still tricky, because Jordan is actually having a crazy boom here, and Nili is doing a good job slowing down the opponent. That being said, this may still turn into a 2 versus 1, because Nili's eco is very, very weak now. Like 49 Voyagers is far from impressive, let's just say that, especially now with some Knights and Siege pushing this one. Pikemen will come out for Nili, grabbing +1 attack. Monks will try to lower those numbers by getting a couple of conversions in. Jordan trying to go for Pikemen himself, aiming for Imperial Age. I really like the way that Nili is limiting the movement of bars. That helps quite a bit to Jordan. Same thing over here, but we will see if this is gonna be enough, because the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm seeing that Nili is getting overrun by Knights and Siege, and that could be troublesome. He's at 10 pikemen, and even though the army numbers are fairly even, most of Nili's army, or well, it's actually navy, is bound to water. So yes, he's doing some damage with it, but I'm not sure if it's actually able to compensate for the fact that you're about to lose a town center over here. And this is starting to look grim for Gamer Legion here, because I have to say that Jordan went for a very, very greedy approach of this 4TC boom, and I feel like I did mention that if he went for a couple of early Knights, he could have pushed off Valas from gold very early game. Now I feel like they kind of let Barles+Valas expand to the outside and try to be a little bit more aggressive. So now it is 5 TCs in for Jordan. Still, it's Gods, man. And Gods in post-Imperial are absolutely amazing, especially if you consider the fact that both players, Barles+Valas, are going for cavalry. It's Lithuanian Knights and Burgundian Cavalier. And guess what? Gods will just flood Halberdier. So what this could mean is that, like, the lack of diversity in army could hurt for Barles+Valas really badly, because they will have no answer to like a flood of pikemen or the flood of Huskars potentially. Nili is in trouble, but I feel like what Nili needs to do now is just slowly die, because every moment you delay Barles+Valas here, Jordan gets closer and closer to annihilating the opponent with like a flood of pikemen. And remember that if Bars has all his eco here, if this gets pushed, he loses like 50 Voyagers or so. Nili, I think he's doing his best to slow this one down. I'm not going to say this is the perfect play from him, but now I think he bought enough time for Jordan so that Jordan is at 132 Voyagers. overall ecos are still comparable. So Nili is not super Omega dead. He's at 53 villagers rushing up at EC on the left side. I think that even though Nili feels like he's in a rough spot, his job here was exactly this one. Just making sure that their opponents are delayed as much as possible in this one. Jordan is up to Imperial, gets a castle up over here, and when the castle goes up, that should be immediately, probably Perfusion first, because you want to flood Pikemen. No Halberdier, no upgrades just yet, and we'll have the famous Burgundian skirms here, but guess what? A couple of Huskars will clean that one up, and we have a fully boomed Gothic player in the house. And we'll have Anarchy first, so we'll actually have Huskars coming in. Knights actually hitting the back of Jordan's eco. He would have a little bit of trouble cleaning this one up, but when he has Halberdier in, he should have no trouble finishing these off. And it's indeed now Halberdier, and soon we will have Huskars as well. Perfusion should soon follow, and if you look at Nili's eco, it's not that bad. It's 61 villagers, not great, but not terrible either. Imperial Age will be coming in for Valas though, that's something to consider. And looking at Valas, he is at 0 relics still. So one thing that Nili was able to accomplish with those war galleys is that he's denying all relics. Because all the relics are on water, and that's extremely important. Also, right now Valas is only at 7 knights, and he's up against a lot of Halberdier. It's 40 Halberdier already. Other side, we already have Huskars coming in. And this is where things will get really rough for Barles+Valas. Stopping the Gothic flood. How do you even stop this one? Because, like, I mean, Skirmisher feels like a very, very bad joke. I mean, Skirmisher Cavalier could work, but I am really unsure if you actually have the production to be able to keep up spamming Cavalier and Skirmishers against Huskars, especially because Huskars are fully upgraded Elite Huskars. They're missing Blast Furnace, but that's all that they're missing. Whereas these Cavaliers are horribly under upgraded, only +1/+1 on those. And I think Nili did his job well enough to allow Jordan to just boom up into the Gothic flood. Their civilizations by the end, I think, proved to be slightly better. Nili had an excellent job with denying the relics as well, something that we really have to give credit for. But it sort of seems like that even though Valas is taking into, or going into Imperial, Bars is trying to go for longswords. But Elite Huskars will just beat longswords, and all you need to do is just push in here. Where are you going to run if you're Bars? If you get 20 Huskars in here, all of this dies. Jordan with 74 military right now, and it looks like what didn't succeed in the set against AC7 Say My Name, reverse sweeping after a 2-0 deficit. It seems like it's gonna work there for Game of Legion. They were down 2 games, and the Kawasan game was also looking quite rough for them, but after that, they rallied it, and now Valas is taking into Hand Cannoneer, but that feels a little too late, because look at Nili. This is exactly the moment. Nili is getting the longboats out, and the longboats will melt the buildings. All Jordan needs to do is send in 10 Huskars here. If you send in 10 Huskars, all these villagers die, and Bars is gonna be down to like 50. Bars' eco is collapsing, and now Nili's eco is actually better than Bars. Nili will soon click into Imperial as well. What a reverse sweep here from Game of Legion. They're definitely always bringing in those nail-biter sets, and it seems like this is a fitting end to the first day of the second round, because we had an excellent set here to finish the day with Imperial Age coming in here for Nili, and really crazy to Nili that after suffering so much damage, he was able to reboom so clean. Jordan at a steady 80 military right now, and he's just everywhere. Wherever I look, Nili is there. Bars cause the GG because they're losing their outside belongings, and there is no way to protect this one either. Reverse sweep from Gamer Legion. They will keep their hopes alive, and they will go to the decider game, which is going to be interesting, because the other second round game of Group A will be Viper and Taro versus AC7 and Say My Name, where Viper and Taro should be the favorites, which means that if that actually happens, we might see a rematch between Nili and Jordan versus ACM and Say My Name, but they avoid losing in the losers match, the elimination, and they will have a chance to prove themselves in the decider game. If they win there, they get to the quarterfinals. So Game of Legion C, what a comeback this was from Game of Legion. A fitting end to the day, I must say. So looking at this, I think when you look at it, this is what you look at, this number. 59,000 resources, and you see how much Nili did when it comes to delaying the opponents with the ships. Barles also had a way weaker eco, and Nili actually was on par with Valas in terms of economy, but really Nili's control over the water was actually very, very nice here as well. But Jordan played out of his mind in the last 3 games, even the Islands game as well. Jordan, massive performance here. Nili had his up and downs, but overall I think he can be satisfied with his performance as well. There were some sloppy moments, especially the Arabia game was somewhat underwhelming from Nili. The rest of them were okay-ish, even though not necessarily amazing. And with that, Game of Legion C keeps their hope alive. They will go to the decider set, which will be played next Saturday, so it's going to be the 17th of April. All 4 decider sets of each group will be played at that time.